Yeah. You already know it's me, AG the Dad, and this is Shit Talking Sunday. We're here again, Monday, 9 a.m. with the one, the only Sensible Chery, because we need to have some shit talking and keep it positive and keep positive people around you and support our youth because they are our future. What's up, Sensible Chery? What's going down?
Happy Halloween. Halloween's what's going down.
Yeah, happy Halloween, ghouls and goblins.
Yeah, no, actually, I was thinking today, I'm like, since it is a special day to some, probably not to others, that maybe we could do a little talking about Halloween in general and some thoughts with schools and stuff like that. I know my son was able to wear a school appropriate costume today to school, and they were going to have a classroom party. I know that we have some schools that I think there's some out there that are ready to ban Halloween, not allow it in the schools. Some allow people to wear costumes because of other, different religions and stuff like that. But I know one of the things that I found interesting is that you keep seeing is that they are not allowed to wear the masks that go with their costumes because that would cause a problem in the school, which is very ironic considering the last 2 years, but I digress. So
that is crazy because I bought my son, he wanted to be the Black Spider-Man. So I bought him the suit and I was like, "You're not wearing your mask?" He said, "No, we're not allowed to." I was like, I understand a full mask, or maybe when they walk in, they have to take it off so the teacher knows all the kids are who they are. But in between class or so, I know it's an added distraction, but if you guys want to truly celebrate the holiday for these kids, even though it's really a made up holiday, let them fully enjoy it. You're taking all these restrictions and taking the joy and fun out of it, and you're making it so restrictive that our kids, they are having our kids focus on the wrong things. They're more concerned about gender identity at their age than just being a kid enjoying. I didn't even know what rock was, but I saw the Kiss outfit and I wanted to be Gene Simmons, and I was Gene Simmons. And the ironic part about it is, fast forward to when I'm 17 and I meet Gene Simmons.
Oh.
And it was actually really crazy. I met him in Georgia in the South backstage. One of my cousins was like one of the head ushers, and so she said, "Yeah, meet me at the back door. I'll let you in." So I go in, and when I get in there, I'm wandering around the halls, and maybe because a 17-year-old black kid in the dirty South backstage at a Kiss concert was probably really, really abnormal
Yeah.
back in the 80s. So everybody just kind of left me alone, and I was just going, walking around, opening up doors, walking in, walking out, just enjoying VIP privilege without knowing I had VIP privilege. And when I walked in one room, there was a guy sitting on the couch, and I was like, "Man, who is this?" I walked in. I was like, "Oh, excuse me, sorry." He goes, "Hey, wait, who are you?" And I said, "Oh, I'm nobody. I'm just back here. No. What are you doing backstage?" I was like, just hanging out. And he goes, "No, come on in, come on in." I was like, "Who are you?" He goes, he just laughed like, "You really don't know who I am." And I was like, "Yeah, yeah." And he goes, "Hey, man, come here, have a seat." And I was like, "All right, did I do something wrong?" He goes, "You really don't know who I am?" And I said, "No." He said, "Who are you here to see?" I said, "Really, nobody. I'm just here because it's a Kiss concert." And when I was a little kid, I dressed up as Gene Simmons for, you know, Halloween. He said, he started laughing. He said, "That's pretty funny." He goes, "The fact that you dressed up like Gene Simmons and you don't even know who he is." And I said, "No, he's that guy in that clown mask, the makeup." And he just started laughing. He said, and then about that time, another guy comes in from another door, and it was the roadie, the road manager, and he goes, "Hey, Gene," and he goes, "Who's the kid?" He said, "Man, he just wandered in, man. And we just talking. He goes, and I'm looking at him like, "Gene," and I go, "Gene," and I go, "Gene Simmons," and he says, "Yeah, I'm Gene Simmons, man. Kid guy in the clown outfit." I was laughing, going, "Oh, He goes, No, man, you're hella cool, man. I like you, man. Stay here with me until it's time to go on show." And the rest of the Kiss people came in, and some groupies came in, and they were like, "Hey, you take care of him. Take care of this. Make sure he has a good time." And I'm not going to go into detail, but I had a great time hanging out with Gene Simmons. So
That's cool.
that's my Halloween
Kiss Gene Simmons story.
No, my Gene Simmons story. I wondered to this day if I ever ran into him, would he remember me?
That's funny.
I mean, I'm sure I look way different, but yeah,
Right? You're a lot older now.
Yeah, just one of the celebrities I met in my life that was really, he was a really, really cool dude when I met him. I think I just blew his mind at the fact that in the South, because really when I walked around after I left the backstage and I went to the front to the crowd, it was just full of cigarette smoke. That's back when cigarette smoke was legal, and it was just full of cigarette smoke, and it was just reeking of just everything bad. And you could just tell, you probably could count the black people that were there.
Right.
It was very few, but I had a great time. I mean, I'm not
awesome.
into rock, but and I had a great time.
I like some rock.
Yeah.
Hey, see, so what are the thoughts here? So Halloween should be in school or not in school? Yes or no?
I think that if we're going to celebrate it as a holiday, and put so much emphasis on it, then in schools you should allow them, especially if you're going to say you can wear your costumes, um, just make there be a time and place for them to be fully clothed. Don't say no, you just can't wear it, because what would be the point of them destroying the bottom portion of their costume so that later on they can't go trick-or-treating? Because we all know the little kids are definitely going to be on the playground playing, and they're going to get dirty and all that. So if you're going to do Halloween, let them do it, or at very least, celebrate it the day after so they can come fully clothed and play and mess it up if that's what they're going to do. At least the youth. Older kids, I get it. We already know that in this day and age, which is pretty sad, that most of the boys are going to dress up trying to be a player, gangster, something that they see and hear in music videos, and the girls are going to be hoochified.
Yeah.
And this is wintertime, and I tell my daughters all the time, I said, "Man, I can't believe some of the things women wear when it's cold, and um, then I wind up saying, well,
Or
you know
don't
what?
wear,
Yeah,
or
you
don't
know,
wear.
so I tell my daughters all the time, hoochies don't get cold. Hoochies don't get cold. So, you know, if you're gonna be a hoochie, you're already hot out there doing your thing. So you don't get cold. You looking to be for the fire to be put out. So for me, you know, either be all in or all out.
So I find it interesting because we've got this dynamic where, it's inclusivity and diversity and all of this other kind of stuff. And so it's just like I'm a little torn as to how we went from, being able to do things or things that were universally done, Halloween parties. And then we get to the point where there are groups of people that do not celebrate for by whatever their reasoning or choice is. Um, and whether we take offense to something or not. And I think offense is where we're starting to have some issues. You know, we can say that offense is a choice. I think that there's a difference between if someone is doing ill will towards somebody intentionally, but when you are just living or doing something that you choose to do, and it's what somebody else doesn't choose to do, and your intent isn't to harm them, then what is the problem? And so we've gotten into this world. Well, okay, well, we can't do it because we don't want to offend anybody. And it's just like, well, how about where instead of everybody who is offended, that we don't know whether they're offended or not, kind of rules the roost, and it's decided let's not offend anybody. How about if we give strength in speaking up? And if something bothers you, you let people know, and then you go from there. And there's a dynamic where you either are going to be in a situation that you don't want to be in and you're choosing to stay there, or you pull yourself out. And
Mhm.
so if you're in a dynamic of, let's just say, Halloween, because I know the other thing that I've seen is like we've switched a lot of things over from like Halloween parties to harvest festivals and stuff like that. Our school, we call it a harvest festival, but it definitely has more of a Halloween theme to it. Um, but it's just like we're making all of these efforts to try to be inclusive and not offend, but you can't. There's no way to not potentially offend somebody. And so the easier thing is that if somebody is offended, that it's that person that needs to decide what they're going to do. Like I said, this isn't going towards somebody being mean or cruel or unkind. It's about somebody just doing something that you may not agree with and the environment that you are in, and deciding to go from there.
Right, right.
So how do we so So how do we get there? How do we get to the point where it's just like, okay, if a school is going to celebrate something and people do not agree with it, who is right? Do we go by the majority? Do we go by perception? What's our baseline for that?
You know, law, constitution supersedes everything. And, you know, if we go back to the roots of separation of church and state in school, this is the United States of America. I remember growing up having to pledge allegiance to it. I'm not saying that we should go back to that, because the Pledge of Allegiance in itself has its issues with race issues and the whole meaning of it. If you look at the complete Pledge of Allegiance, because what we most people know of is Pledge of Allegiance to our one nation under God, indivisible, one nation. You know that one. It's really quick, but it actually is a lot longer, and it was so racist that it had to be cut out. It had to be trimmed to fit, I guess, the narrative, if that's the best way to put it. And for me, I guess the quick answer is Majority, yes, it should be with majority rule because this is a democracy country, um, and we can't be ruled by the minority, um, even though we are, because the 2% run the 98%. So, as far as in the school, if we're going to have holidays and you're going to press these holidays, then honor the traditions. Um, but because they're pushing a narrative no matter what, because we all know, as an example, we were talking about this before, we all know Christopher Columbus did not discover America, because when he got here there were already people here. Okay, so even that part of it is crazy. So I mean, this is just what the, I guess, British rule was, because they were the biggest army they conquered, and this is what they called it, because he wasn't even coming to America. He was trying to get to India,
Yeah.
So um for me, it's, if you're gonna, don't, it's kind of like, and we're all adults here, it's like doing porn. You can't say, oh, I want to be a porn star and just put one foot in. You either in it or you're not, because once you commit, you're all the way in. So if you're going to have um holidays and we're going to celebrate them and honor them, well, don't pick and choose. When we come to school for Christmas now, because people are being offended because their religion doesn't believe in it, that's the problem, is that our core values that this country was built on is being changed because other people that are coming from other countries are trying to uh, push their their views and customs on us,
Right.
as Americans. So I'm I think that if you're going to come here, one, you need to speak the native language. We don't need to conform to anybody else's. Although there should be um, understanding and compassion. If somebody doesn't understand how to speak our language, then, hey, well, part of the criteria of you becoming a U.S. citizen is you have to take some classes to at least know how to maneuver through the world. For us to have to change all our pamphlets, all our things, and the one, push one for English, push two for this, push three. No, no. Um, call into it. Maybe we should set up an organization that can help maneuver new people that are coming into society, into America, with um, someone that can help maneuver them through, put them in schooling and education, because I think the separation of education, and the barriers are what's affecting everything, even in school, because you got all these different cultures. Kids are starting to, you know, well, my culture, we don't celebrate that. Well, my culture does. Well, my culture believes it should be celebrated this way. Well, my culture believes
Right.
it should be celebrated that way. Nah, man. In the beginning, this is how it was. Leave it open, basic. Let everybody interpret it their own way. There, as long as nobody's getting hurt, let everybody celebrate it the way that they feel. Don't be so like exact on how it has to be,
Right.
because that's not school's job.
Right.
School's job is to educate you. Go, let them come there on their free time, walking in and out. Do your thing. Just make sure you're in class on time. You know,
Well, and
uh,
that's the side of it where we have people that, it should just be banned from school, because if the whole intent of school is to educate, are we even bringing these things in as a distraction? Um, and it's getting to the point where, considering where we are at from a education status, like where we're ranked by state, that maybe focus should be switched away from some of these things that are distractions, and what should we be teaching our children, um, and
yeah,
stay away from all the
maybe,
extra.
yeah, maybe holidays should be celebrated and left alone to the families. And in school,
Mm-hmm.
school should be exactly what it is. You're going to school to get educated. Yeah, I know you want to bring some fun to the education system because kids, uh, their attention span is very small, and it could get very boring and overwhelming for some students. But if from a young child we do the pattern of focus on education, less distractions, I think we'll have better educated kids. Because if you look at all these other countries that are ranked better than us or
Mm-hmm.
higher than us, um, they don't have all these. They might celebrate one or two real key holidays, but these other minor ones, nah, man. Like maybe Christmas, Thanksgiving, New Year's. That's it. Other than that, Halloween, yeah, you do that on your own time. If you want to come to school in you know, a toned down outfit where it's business casual, so to speak,
Mm-hmm.
uh, maskless.
Costume casual.
Yeah, costume casual. You know, maskless, something that was maskless, casual. If you want to, you know, do some face paint, okay, cool. By Halloween, teachers should at least at a glance have a decent idea of whether or not that's one of their students or not,
Mm-hmm.
face painted or not. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
although I've seen some very miraculous things happen with makeup.
Yeah.
I've seen some astonishing transformations from some people that I said, man, I'm glad I never woke up next to something that looked like that after the makeup was peeled off. No, no disrespect. I'm AG the dad, and I want to keep it professional. But some of you ladies, when you go to war, that war paint is phenomenal. I'm just saying, you know.
Well, and how many of these, like when you talk about the origin of some of these holidays, like Halloween has got a lot of pagan roots to it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and though I think what was it? I think the Hallow part is for the Eve of All Saints Day from the Christian side, but there's a lot of other things. I mean, I think I was reading something that was talking about like bobbing for apples was a tradition where women would like, I think they put like their name on an apple and threw it in, and whoever got the apple basically was supposed to be who their future husband was supposed to be.
Really?
Yeah,
Hmm.
some crazy stuff. That and what was the other one? Like, I don't know. There's all sorts of things like with the jack o' lantern and the spirit world and all the things. And so I don't know. There's a lot of people. It's just like that. It's just like no, we don't want that evil, and we can't do this and we can't do that. And when it comes from a biblical side of things, I go back to, it's just like what is right for one person may not be right for another. We are not all on the same path. And so if Halloween is something that you are being convicted in some way that you shouldn't be celebrating, then you should listen to, your own personal conviction. But to convict others for what they choose to do, or they may not be on the same path of you, that's where we start crossing lines.
Right.
And I think that that's what we're walking into is we have a whole lot of people choosing how they want to walk in life, and then they're expecting everybody else to accept them, which you can accept an individual without accepting their choices.
Right.
And that's where we have these gray areas where people just automatically take offense. And it's just like, well, if you can't accept what I do, you don't accept me, and all this other kind of stuff. And that's not the case, and we keep dividing people, and we really have to stop dividing.
Yeah, I agree. Um, it's crazy, but when Obama got into office is when the world changed. Um, and in my opinion, it was because the focus that some politicians try to bring to um, Obama, all the accusations of he's a Muslim, he's this, he's that. And to me, the fact that he was an American citizen, I'm sure that the government, Secret Service, all the powers that be are not going to just allow somebody who's not a US citizen to pass all the um, background checks to be able to be placed on the card for, potential as a candidate. So all those accusations, and that's where the hate started roiling over, because you got to understand there's already people in this world who don't like blacks, just like there's people in this world that don't like whites. Okay, so when you take that and you allow somebody a platform to fan the fire, that's when it started. And then once he got into office, he just kept going nonstop. And then people started getting on. And that's where the hate started, rather than taking it and making a professional thing and coming at somebody with some professionalism, opposed to all this hate, 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 especially, no disrespect, but we can all see, and it's blatantly obvious with anybody who can articulate conversation, that some of our past presidents had very little speech skills when it came to politics and things of that sort. So for me, to allow somebody whose vocabulary is already substandard, that's all they know, to get the attention. Just like a bad kid, because they can't get their point across, they're going to lash out to get the attention, so that you will make the changes that need to be done for them to achieve their goal. That's why kids are bad, because they, in my opinion, either they lacked attention when they were little, or they are looking for attention now for whatever their reasons are, whether it be a thirst for power or whatever. Just like, from my own opinion, Trump, once he got in and felt and smelt and tasted the power, it went to his head. Um, I think that if he focused on trying to handle things, opposed to listening to people attacking him, and stop firing back like, oh, you said this, so I'm going to say that. Man, you're the president at that time. Don't worry about what they're talking about. Just keep going and doing your agenda that you needed to do to make the changes that you were voted in to do, just like Obama did. Obama, he had so many diversities that he had to overcome, but he just still pushed forward. And anybody that attacked him, he still came at them with professionalism, no matter how uh, racist certain things were. He didn't just attack back. And that's what we need. We need more people, whether you liked Obama or not. And I'm not going to say he was the best president, because I can't say that. I will say that he was one of the only presidents that didn't have all the controversies that our current presidents and everybody, all the other presidents had. So he had to have been doing something right, at least morally. He wasn't over there cheating on his wife. He wasn't over there, having porn stars come up and say, oh yeah, I was messing with him when he was married to her. Things like that. Those things matter. Our leaders, you want to lead by example. So if we're having all these holidays, they represent different things for different people. I have friends that do not celebrate Halloween. They say, man, that's the devil's day, and I will not celebrate that evil. And anybody that does is a bad person. Um, for me, any day that my kids can have a smile on their face, having a good time, is a great day. If people think that celebrating Halloween is evil and whatnot, my opinion is you're not educating your children properly to let them know that, for one, this is a pagan play date made up. We know that ghouls and goblins for real don't exist. Um, my kids are not saying we celebrate the devil and we're worshiping the devil and all that. No, um, my kids have been raised most high fearing, and they just go and have a good time with their friends and get free candy. And we just got sickos in this world that decide that they want to do ominous things to our youth, and that's where all these laws and regulations have to come into play to protect our youth. But when it starts rolling over into our school systems and taking rights away from parents, that's going to have to draw the line, because there's already enough problems with the government taking away rights and giving them to one parent over the other. In the state of California, if you're a father, you automatically are going to lose in court unless you got a great lawyer, and there is a drastic difference between your your wealth and your significant other's wealth. Because when I had to go through child custody in the past, um, I had a great job, uh, and the other one didn't work, and automatically on default they give it to the other parent so that she can have welfare, and you get child support taken out, rather than say, you know what, all right, this parent can't afford to take care of the kids, this one can, or this one has the better chance to take care of them because they make enough. If this parent can't give reasons why this parent over here is a bad parent, then why strip them from this one, put them over here, use state tax resources when we could just leave them over here, let them do what they do, give the other parent a little bit of help to help boost it, and over here tell them, hey, go get a job. We won't get child support from you, but go get a job. But we'll give you some food stamps because we know that will help you, and that's all you need. We don't have to give you cash aid. We'll give you food stamps. That helps you over here, and you could raise these kids until you could over here get your stuff together. And maybe we should force the other parent, if they're not, to get into these programs. Why force? You know, the parent that's not involved, educate them. That's the problem. We're not educating them, and then the child's not getting educated, and they're looking at stuff, and now they're running amok because they don't have a parent that's been in their life, whether it's the father or the mother. And now you have these kids that are wandering the world that know nothing, and the system is raising them. Just like Halloween. We're instilling our visions that Halloween, you got to be evil, got to be ghouls, goblins, you got to run around, you got to do this, and then everything you see on TV, they want to emulate. And then they wonder why Grand Theft Auto is probably one, that and Call of Duty and Modern Warfare and all those are such popular games, and they're wondering why there's all these school shootings and all this. Is because we are stamping our children with the mind frame of this is where it's violence everywhere. The best games are violent. The best games are trying to get away and just do wrong. Instead of back in the day when we were growing up, it was, can you save the princess? You have to go on this mission. You have to the fight over good and evil. Now good and evil is him or me. You know, what side are you on?
Well, and that's what's so hard too, because I mean, I'm just like, I agree. Like Grand Theft Auto, that's one that I'm like, no, buddy, sorry, you're not playing that one. But some of the other ones, he's played Call of Duty. That's an individual thing too. You know, it goes down to the whole, you know, guns don't kill people, people kill people. There's something a little bit more deep when it comes to people that do some of these crimes. And that's where it's just like we really need to get to the root of what's going on. And I think like what you touched upon earlier, like there is something deeper going on with these kids when they're acting out. They did not get something when they were young. And the broken family is a big player in that. And I don't, educating people more regarding the impact of family and consequences of having children and how that really plays out in their lives of them having a missing piece. I still don't, it's like, that was part of our I don't know who my father is. I was raised fine, and you know what I mean, with my mom and her friend, and so I turned out okay, but there's that missing piece of not knowing who my father is. And then you have a lot of people that they'll use their kids as pawns, which just is disgusting to me, just like that back and forth. And I've definitely seen more women guilty of using their kids as pawn with the fathers. Whether it's some resentment because their relationship didn't go well, and yet these fathers don't necessarily, they're not that way with their own children, but there's so much hurt from the relationship that they can't see past that to encourage the kids to have that relationship with both parents. And so when it comes to the root cause of what are these symptoms that we're seeing of kids acting um, and we keep putting consequences in place, but we are not addressing the root. And
Mm-hmm.
until you figure out what the root is, I mean, maybe it is a they're hungry, or they're not getting enough food, or they've got insecurity because maybe they don't have the best clothes, or things like that. And then maybe there's just some toxic stuff going on in the household between abuse, drugs, or any of the other things that are rampant right now. And how can we protect our kids? Parents be able to, the rule is supposed to be like, Oregon's state law is by default, the assumption is that the parents have the best interest of their children at heart. And that should be the assumption universally. However, when there are other things in place like substance and stuff like that, you may not have control over
Mm-hmm.
that. I mean, if you don't have control over an addiction, then you are not necessarily making the best decisions in the best interest of your child. And
Mm-hmm.
so, where do we draw that line between parents that should have every right to raise their children how they see fit? But now we're starting to blur this line where schools are being driven to think that they know best for the children. And when we have, you know, administration and state agencies and even our presidents deciding that things that should be kept from parents, or allow children to be their true selves in school, it's deception, and it's not right. And to think that better than a parent knows of what is right for a child, um, that is really starting to cross some lines. That I
Yeah.
think was why we're seeing a rise in parents that are fed up and speaking out, and all these things for school choice and stuff, where they want their dollars to follow where they want to put their child, because they want to put their child in an environment that they approve of, not that they feel like their children are being indoctrinated instead of educated.
Yeah. If you think about it, I'm just gonna say this: if you're a father or a mother and you are not in your child's life, you're a piece of shit. Straight up. Um, you do not understand what your child is going to be growing up with, missing out on the other parent. Um, I came from a broken family. Um, I was in, my father was in my life, not physically as much as he would have liked to have been, but I talked to my father every day, until the day he passed away. Even the day he passed away, I talked to him. So for me, I had a father figure. He just wasn't physically here to really um, see what needed to be corrected in me to make me a better man, but he was at least there uh, morally when I talked to him to help guide me. And I think that's what saved me from being in as much issues as I could have been growing up. Um, but a missing parent, I don't know if mentally they think that, you know what, I'll just wait till they're 18 and then I'll come in their life and I don't have to deal with the other parent. But what they're not understanding is the resentment that that child is going to have at the fact that you couldn't be a grown up to figure out how to work it out between two parents, whether it's the father's fault or the mother's fault, um, to help raise this child. One thing I can say is you cannot put the blame on the other parent. Example, she won't let me see him. He won't let me see him. Because I will tell you, when my kid's mother told me that I couldn't see my kid, first thing I did was got me an attorney. If you can't afford an attorney, there are places you can go that will give you free legal advice, because if you can't afford an attorney, that means your income level is low enough that you qualify for free legal advice. So I would say go to your court system, go get that free legal advice. They will help you get to the point where you will have access to your kids. That's if you don't have a court order. Now, if there's a court order in place and you are using the excuse of the other parent won't let me see my kids, and on your visitation day, you haven't called law enforcement to have them enforce a court order, then you are the problem, because you are the one who is not coming into the kid's life. So don't keep saying, oh, your mom is this or your dad is this, because it's you. So be mad at yourself for the relationship that you have with your kids, whether you do or you don't have them, because it's just not cool. You know, the other parent, when they sit there and listen, especially if they're not the type of parent to always speak negatively about the other parent and you're the only one that is, those kids know the truth. You think about you and how intelligent you are as a parent. So as a kid, just understand they will also grow up to be grown, and they will also figure it out and realize whether or not you were a good parent, bad parent, or a piece of shit. And like I said, before I started this rant, if you're not in your kid's life and you're blaming the other parent and you have not exercised all the things that you have at your disposal, you are the problem and you are a piece of shit. Okay, straight up. And that's how I feel. If you have a different feeling, point of view about it, please email me, agthedad at shittalkingsundays.com, because I want to hear from you. I might even bring you on the show to talk about it. I'm not talking necessarily about any of my about my kid's mom. I'm just talking in general. So anybody out there, if you think that my view of what I just said was wrong, please help enlighten me and the Shit Talking Sunday Nation. Understand a more sensible alternative. I'm trying to give deadbeat moms and deadbeat dads a voice. If you want to be deadbeat, give us your point of view. Speak out. It's Halloween. So we're going to let evil speak.
Well, and I'll tell you one thing, to default, the piece of shit kind of stage, a lot of it can be ignorance too. I mean, some people do not realize what rights that they have, and they've been brainwashed. But I agree with you. Like, you shouldn't be using that as an excuse. If you're not doing your due diligence to make an effort, you have got to try. Like, if there's court orders in place, it's one thing if you're not allowed to see your children, and then that's a whole nother thing. But you keep fighting. if you just give up, then that the more time that goes by, the the more you solidify that distance, the harder it is. It's just like from day one, if you're fighting, 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 and making like, no, I have the ability to see my kid and this, that, and the other thing, you should be getting that. And if you're not, then maybe it's time to get a new lawyer or something like that. But the states, like you said, there is another dynamic. They definitely weigh and lean more towards the mother's rights. I've been hearing that even in this state here in regards to kids being wards of the state, by default, dads get left out, left behind. And so you really do have to fight harder to be part of your kid's life when you are, especially when you're the dad, if there's a dynamic that's making it difficult. But there's that other side of it too, where it's just out with our kids. Where's that line between the kid that starts deciding that they don't want to be with a particular parent? Where's the line between when a child is old enough to decide, well, I really don't have, and then it comes down to, or is it just because they're not having as much fun with one parent as another? And is that another ploy that a parent is using? Like, oh, you can play all the video games you want when you're here with, this parent, but when you go to the other parent, oh, you're not going to be able to do this. You're not going to be able to do that. And, then you're doing this battle as opposed to having some consistent things that you agree on. Even if the two of you can't get along together, like you should have some consistent parenting dynamics. This is what we're going to do for, social media, or this is what we're going to do with friends or sleepovers or what have you, or, there should be some common ground that you are a united front, because children, they see any kind of wedge and they know how to manipulate it. They know how to use it, and they will.
Yep.
To their advantage.
Yeah, parents don't understand. Just like
parents just don't understand.
Parents just don't understand. I'm gonna tell you like this: kids know whether or not you're putting in effort to come see them. You might get away with it for a couple of days, a couple of weeks, a couple of months, but a couple of years, it's like that old saying when you were going through school. You cry wolf enough that one day when you really have to cry wolf, nobody gonna believe you. That's why when you have a custody order and you set up a custody order and you're supposed to have them, let's say every other weekend, and you don't execute it this weekend, okay, stuff happens. You don't execute it the next time, okay, shit happens. But after that third, fourth, fifth time in a row, kids get it. And it starts messing with their minds like, why am I not good enough that my father doesn't want me? Why am I not loved enough that my mother doesn't want me? Because that's how they're thinking. That you might be thinking, I hate their mom or I hate their dad, so I'm not gonna go around. But you know what? The only person you're hurting is your child. So you think about that. I don't give a rat's butt about how you feel about the other parent. If you love your child, you will fight for your child. And the fact that any father out there that doesn't fight for their child, like I said, you're a piece of shit. Any mother that doesn't fight for their child, you're a piece of shit. Any parent that puts a significant other over their child, you are a piece of shit. And that's just my opinion, because there is no person out there that is more important than what you have been blessed by the Most High to be able to carry on your legacy. So when you just allow somebody else to instill their views on your child, well, you're going to get what you get. For me, the fact that all these parents out here are putting so much blame on the other parent because they couldn't get along with each other, and making children that they suffer, especially the parents out there that plan their kids. And then fast forward years down the road, things don't work out. And now you just want to abandon one of them or two of them or three of them, however many kids you have. What does that, I mean, what does that say about you as a parent? If you're not at least giving your child a fighting chance, what does that say about you as a parent if you're not at least supporting them financially, even if you don't care, at least show up every now and then and buy them the needs and the stuff that they need to survive in life. Give your child a head start. Why, if your focus is on partying, why did you even want a child? At some point, you have to realize and wake up. You have something that depends on you for the rest of your life, not their life, because they're going to, in the normal course of life, your child is supposed to outlive you. So for the rest of your life, you are the one that's going to be there to take care of your child. So if you're not going to be out there giving them every advantage in the world, and you're worried about partying and where the next get together is gonna be, who the next person I'm gonna get with is gonna be, you got your priorities messed up. You got a child that depends on you, and one parent alone, especially in this world, is not cutting it. No. So you take a deep look at yourself, and in the future, the relationship you have with your child in the future depends on the footstone that you create now. I know that for me, in my past, I didn't put together all the proper building blocks that I needed to with my oldest children, that I probably should have, even stepkids. I can say that I've always loved any kid that I was associated with. I probably didn't know how to be a parent. And I can say that my ex, putting the responsibilities that she did on me, helped me to see a lot of things a whole different way. And I am definitely a different person than I was in my 40s and 30s and 20s. But that's just with growing. That's just with growing. People mature. Did I do things in my past that I regret? Absolutely. Absolutely. If I could go back and change things, there's a whole bunch of things I would do differently. A bunch of people that I would definitely treat differently. Both ways. Some I would treat better than I did, and some I would treat, I'm not going to say worse. I would just say I would give them less attention of my time than I did, and focus more on my family and growing it, like I do now. Because you got to put the time in. I am so glad that all my kids, for the most part, have great grades. My kids now, my young kids, they are all straight A's and maybe a B here, maybe two, if that. But for the most part, it's all A's, and that's because I'm there. I'm involved. I make sure that their needs are met as best as I can. But keep in mind, like I said, I'm a single dad. Not saying that I'm doing this by myself. I have a very significant other that really helps me a lot, and I really love her for that. But I would say that if their biological mother was in their life, they would have so much more, because I provide everything, the bare necessities that they need. So if their mother was to come in, they would have so much more. And I'd like to say my kids live a decent life. I mean, they don't have everything that they want, but they have everything that they need. So if I can provide at least the bare minimums of that, the other parent could give them everything else that they want. Um, which also brings me to a point and my sponsor. It's me, AG the Dad with AG Life Agency. And let me tell you, if you're not securing your legacy, then you're doing something wrong. But if you go into that description link, AG Life Agency, click on the link, get yourself a quote, and make sure that when you pass away, at very least, you can leave something for your children to help them, one, bury you, two, have a pay off their bills, and maybe give a little bit of a head start depending on how much you put into it. But if you hit that link in the description, aglifeagency.com, somebody will get back to you and give you a free quote. But back to what we were talking about.
Nice little plug there.
Hey, shameless plug. What could I say?
Yeah, no, it's really hard with our kids and understanding the consequences that come with all of the decisions we make. And it really, what would be nice, like when you talk about the fast forward button, it would be really nice is if we had the ability to see like the decisions that we make and be able to hit a fast forward button and see how that's going to impact us. Because we really, I had my daughter at 17, and all the choices and decisions that I made while having her, being a single mom, and her father wasn't in the picture. And it was hard, and I did the best that I could do at that time. Probably didn't do the best that I could do, but for the frame of mind that I was in and for where I was at, I definitely was trying to do what I felt was best at the time.
Yeah, it was a kid having a kid. It was a kid having a kid. You know what I'm saying?
Should not, kids should not be having, but I think that's one of the bigger things is that I have seen is that we really need to start having the discussions that nobody seems to want to have. And, I know I've had a lot more discussions with my son than I ever had with my daughter. And, the idea of just putting your head in the sand or not talking about it, and it'll go away. Things don't go away, and kids are going to do whatever they're going to do to figure it out. So why not give them the advantage of the wisdom that you have gained through your life and sharing that with them and helping them with, understanding those choices that you may have made that you wish you would have done differently, and you're wise. You can't guarantee that it's going to sink in. There's so much of, their development that still needs to happen until they're in their 20s. But there's a lot to be said for planting seeds. And if we plant the seeds to our children and let them know, the things that we went through, letting them know that some of these situations that they're in, they think that it's only happening to them. It's never happened, it's not happening to anybody. Help them understand and that you can relate to them, because they just see you as this person who just doesn't understand, and that's not true. And so I know, I take situations like with my son. I had a one-off meeting where I was told I needed to speak for 2 minutes at the end that I was not prepared for. And I came home and I was telling my son, I'm like, buddy, I'm like, because he's afraid to talk in public right now. And I told him, I'm like, I was scared. I'm like, I was not ready, and let him know that, those fears and stuff, they're normal. They let them know that those emotions that they're having, the confusion that they're having, the frustrations that they're having, that they're all normal. I was playing, what was it, Madden football with him the other day on the Xbox, and mommy was winning. Mommy doesn't play very often, and he lost his lid. I don't remember what happened, but something happened and I was winning and he wasn't, and he just had like a meltdown. I'm like, buddy. And so once he's like, I don't even know why. And I'm like, once he calmed down, and I'm like, he's like, a 40-something-year-old woman beat me. I was like, you know what, buddy? I'm like, I'm so glad that you're able to verbalize that, just the frustration. Yes, you can be mad that my mother, who doesn't even play Xbox, whooped me, and be mad. Like, it's okay. I'm like, you need to learn how to work with that. You can't just get upset all the time. I'm like, but it's okay for you to have those emotions and learn how to control them.
Right.
So,
Well, that's funny. That's funny.
Oh, yeah.
I guess we're about out of time.
Yep.
Is there something last minute you want to say? You know what? A quick update. What's going on with G Baby?
I'll get to see him today. He's still doing good. We've got a long road. It's just one of those things, unfortunately, with the state. There's once a child is a ward of the state, they go through this reunification for a year. Then if that switches, which it's looking like would happen to adoption, then you're in adoption for a year. So, unfortunately, this is a process that will, drag out. He should be on the fast track because he is so little. And unfortunately, my daughter has not been in the picture at all. And that's whether that's better for him or not, because she's not in a good place. So she's definitely not in a position to be able to raise him. So it's still in the early stages, but I'm learning a lot, and we'll be fighting for him continuously. And that it's that pandemic where I chose not to take him into our household, but he's in a community resource home right now and trying to figure out where that adoption could play out. But I'm sure there'll be lots of updates on that, as the state has to do what it legally has to do from reunification. But in the dynamic of where my daughter's substance state is at and her mental health, she is definitely not in a position to take care of a child. And so we'll see how that plays out.
I know.
Well, outside of that,
prayers and
happy Halloween. Try to check those candies. I know I already heard about the rainbow Skittle fentanyl candies running around. So, make sure that you're checking your kids' candy. We've always and have a good time, but not too good.
Yep. Hey, prayers out to you. Hopefully everything works out. I'm sure it will. You're definitely advocating for the right reasons. So I'm pretty confident that it's going to turn out the way it needs to. And then if it doesn't, we will be here to talk some shit to make sure that our children's voices are heard. That woman over there is Sensible Chery. I'm AG the Dad. This is Shit Talking Sunday. Shit Talking with Sensible Chery every Monday at 9 a.m. Blessings, holiday blessings. If you choose to celebrate it, great. If you don't, that's fine too. That's what makes us all human. We have the right to make our own choices. Fathers, mothers, all you mother fathers out there, you better make sure that you do the right thing. See your kids, be in their lives, because hey, look, they love you unconditionally, and you say you will love them unconditionally as well. We'll prove it. The proof is in the pudding. It's not the child's job to be in your life. It's your job to be in theirs. Okay. With that being said, happy Halloween, everybody, and be blessed. Peace.